Welcome to this time of reflection. I'm Geoff Marshall-Taylor and I'm one of the lay readers at Christchurch, Chorley Wood. And this is the second of my two reflections on the theme of Jesus, the light of the world. 4 years ago, almost to the day, a drama unfolded in all the international news bulletins about a group of Thai boys who were trapped in a cave system. There were 12 boys, members of the same football team in Thailand, and their coach, their football coach. They had had a very successful time as a football team, and the coach decided it would be good to celebrate. Not only that, but one of the boys had a birthday on this particular day when the football tournament ended. So they all got on their bikes and they cycled up to the hills. And in the hills was a cave system that was very celebrated. And they decided they would go and have a picnic in the caves. The caves, when they went in, were beautiful. They're full of stalactites and stalagmites. But then there were lots of passageways that went off from the main cave. So the boys decided, with their coach, to explore one of these, or several of them, and they set off. And they crawled and they walked and they kept going for over 2 miles. They reached a sort of raised, rocky part of a larger cave where they decided they'd sit down and have their picnic. Well, that was fine. And most of them had mobile phones and they could see what they were doing. But then something happened that they just hadn't predicted. It began to rain outside, and it was a torrential tropical storm that went on for hours and hours. And what happened then was that the passageways underground began to fill up with water. The water dripped down through the roofs and it just filled them up. So the boys then were in grave danger because they were not going to be able to walk out of the caves through which they'd walked in. And they had walked, remember, about 2 miles, like the distance between Christchurch on the Common and Rickmansworth Station. Huge area. And some of the passageways were very small, some were much bigger, some you had to crawl along, and others you could just about stand up in. Anyway, the boys thought it was all going to be okay, and the water would recede, but it didn't. And they stayed there for hours upon hours. Meanwhile, their families were getting worried, and they set off to see if they could find the boys. At this point, most of the boys found their mobile phone batteries had gone, or they had no signal, so the parents couldn't get in touch with them. The boys just had to sit on, but they thought, oh, it's okay, we will get rescued. But that didn't happen, and they had to sit on and on. I want to check the dates. They went into the caves in June, but it took 10 days before anyone was able to connect with them and locate them. The boys became hungry and scared, and gradually the batteries went in their phones and it became dark. They had no light and they became fearful of what was going to happen. Then 10 days after they made it into the caves, something happened that lifted their spirits. They saw a torchlight coming towards them. What it was the a light on the helmet of one of the British divers who went in search of them. And the helmet light came towards them through the water as these divers penetrated the passageway. Eventually, the divers reached the open area where the boys were sitting. And I just want to imagine the transformation in their feelings. And some of the boys spoke of it later, that as they saw this light coming towards them, their fears turned to hope, and their confusion into joy, the joy of possibilities, of rescue, of seeing their parents again, and life suddenly became positive. But it wasn't that easy, because they couldn't just walk through this water or swim through. What had to happen was that the divers had to bring in wetsuits for the boys, plus breathing masks. And what happened was that one diver had to take one boy at a time back through the water to their parents. Remember, it was slow, 2 miles of diving through the waters. But that had to happen for each of the 12 boys and eventually their coach. But happen it did. And on the 10th of July, 18 days after they first went in, they were all taken out to the joy of their waiting parents. The light on the divers' helmets gave them a sense of hope and of possibility, of life being new and being transformed again. And that sort of transformation is something that Christians experience when they experience the light of Jesus in their lives. The light of the life of Christ transforms people, gives them hope, gives them a taste and an experience of new life. When we think of Jesus as the light of the world, it is of someone who can give hope to anyone, to you, to me, can give us a sense of purpose, even when we're in despair or when that sense of life purpose has gone and been snuffed out. Jesus gives us transforming hope and life. Well, in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, Jesus said this to his followers. I'll read it to you. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a candle and puts it under a bowl, I suppose, but they put it on a candlestick like this one, and it gives light to the whole house. So Jesus says, let your light so shine before people that they may see your good works and glorify your Father that is in heaven. Think back to the football team. I've got a photo here of some of them. And think back to when, in the darkness of the cave, with all the lights out, they suddenly saw the helmet lights of the divers coming towards them. Think of the transformation. Think of the hope. Now, whatever situation you're in, or I'm in, Jesus can give us hope for now and hope for the future. But the challenge, as we mentioned in my last reflection, is to let the light of Jesus permeate every part of our lives. And it was a great experience when the boys emerged from the cave and were flooded in the sunshine light of day. And that light of hope permeated everybody involved in the rescue. And that was well over 1,000 people, not just their parents and the divers, but military people as well, and local officials. So Jesus calls us to be his light and to spread, as he says in Matthew 5, to be light to the rest of the world, not hiding his love and his light unseen, but shining out so we can influence the world around us, starting with our road, I suppose, our workplace, our community, our world. And now a prayer. Graham Kendrick's prayer in his well-known song. Lord, shine, shine, Jesus, shine. Tell the world with the, sorry, I got that wrong. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill the world with the Father's glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Amen, and God bless you.